What's going on, Facebook? You guys got to tell me if this is a good camera angle. If this is a good camera angle. If it is, we'll keep it going. If it's not, then I'll stop it and come back up again. Of course, I'm in the middle of doing my podcast here. So, let's see how this... Oh, that was bad. Let's see how this works out. What is going on? Facebook. What's going on? Do you like this camera angle? Is this camera angle pretty good? Let me know. If it's not good, then I'll go on ahead and change it. Hey, Rhonda, how you doing? How you doing? Is this camera angle good? I'm kind of interested in seeing if this camera... Hey, Rhonda, how you doing? Trying to see if this camera angle is good. Hey, William, what's going on? I guess 9 o'clock was a good time. What's up, Mike Grant? How are you? Is this camera angle good? What do you think? I'm waiting for somebody to put... Oh, you said it is good. It is good. Okay. All right. Hey, what's going on? I'm waiting till this builds some more momentum here. Can you guys hear me? I hope you guys can hear me well. You said it's better than that up and down shit. Okay. All right. That's good. That's good. It is good. Okay. Then we'll keep it like this. So that way you guys can see my lovely... You said you was just talking about this. All right. Good. This is going to be a pretty interesting... And I'm going to have you guys call in if you want to. If you want to call in. What's the doggone number? Maybe I should write this down myself. 773-571-5602. 773-571-5602. Don't call in right now, okay? I haven't started my podcast just yet, so I'm just waiting till this builds some more momentum, and then we're going to talk about it. The Illinois Fix the FOID Card Act. You said it's fine? Okay, good. The Illinois Fix the FOID Card Act. So I got to get a couple of things on here. For me to be able to read it while you guys... Okay, good. That is a huge font there, son. What's going on? Happy Memorial Day. If you guys are watching this, go on ahead and share. I'm going to have you all call in a little bit. And when you guys call in, you know, we'll be able to discuss this, things like that. Again, the number is 773-576... I should have wrote this down. It's a doggone technical thing. 576... 5602, I believe that's the number. Yep, 773-571-5602. Write this down now. 773-571-5602. And we are going to talk about this legislation. I'm just waiting for it to get a little bit more, and then we'll go on ahead and talk about it. Oh my God, that looks like somebody wrote that. Like one of my kids wrote that. 571-5602. And if you want to be a part of the conversation, by all means, please do, because it's going to get pretty heated in this. It's going to get pretty heated. All right, so let's go on ahead and dive right in. Just hang tight. Give it a minute. Hope you all are having a good Memorial Day. Okay, hope you all are having a good Memorial Day. Yeah, we are having classes tomorrow. For those of you all who might be interested, we are having classes tomorrow. At Security Training Concepts. Yes, Memorial Day, but you know what else? When you're unemployed, every day is a friggin' holiday. How about that? Okay, so yeah, we are going to have classes tomorrow. We're going to talk about the Fix the FOID situation that's going on in Illinois, as well as something that came across my Facebook page in the state of Florida, and it's been shared by quite a few people. And so, since it's been shared by quite a few people, I figured I'd go on ahead and spend some time talking about it. So, let me go on ahead and share this in a few groups. Yep. Something to talk about. So, if you guys could share this, I would greatly appreciate it. If you guys could share this. It is something that needs to be talked about. So, let's get to it. I'm going to give it about a few more minutes, and then we'll go on ahead and get started. So take this time, go grab you something to drink. I know I have me something to drink. You said when the next class for the teenagers is going to be in June. I have to put out that schedule, so to be in June. So just check it out. Just go to ChicagoSecurityTrainingConcepts.com and look up the what am I trying to say? Look up the class schedule. Okay, and then we'll go on ahead and get to it. Hope you all are enjoying your day. I'm trying to just share to some firearms groups in Illinois. because this is something that I want you all to call in and talk about. It's Sunday night. Whatever barbecue you were doing, you did already. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and talk about it. Hope you all enjoy your day. Let's get to it. I'm just sharing in a couple of the groups. Okay, I think that is enough. All right, so let's get to it. We are going to the state of Florida. The state of Florida. All right, give me 1 minute. Let me get my podcast back up so that I can go ahead and get started with this. Thank you all for watching On the Mic with Mike. All right, what's going on? Thank you all for watching On the Mic with Mike. I am your podcast host, Instructor Mike. I am also live on Facebook. If you're interested in following me on Facebook, go to facebook.com and just look up Instructor Mike. You can also look up Mike Brown as well. Look up the business security training concepts. We offer great security training and concealed carry training in Illinois. And that's what today's podcast and this live is actually going to be about. Now, my podcast listeners, you're going to hear me interact with my Facebook live followers and things like that. We're going to talk about that, dumb sum. We're going to talk about that as well in terms of that chick in Florida is going to get paid. I don't know if that's necessarily the case. So let's go on ahead and let me put up this FOID card legislation over here. So you're going to see me break eye contact for a minute to be able to look at this. Let me actually put it on this screen right here to be better so that I won't have to break too much eye contact. Hope you all enjoying your Memorial Day. Take a moment to have a moment of silence for those in the military who lost their lives. Sometimes people get Veterans Day, Memorial Day, and they get, what's the other holiday? Veterans Day and Memorial Day mixed up. And I think Armed Forces Day. Armed Forces Day is for those who are currently still in the military. Veterans Day is for veterans who were in the military, and even consider some that are still in, but veterans who were in the military, who served and got out, things like that. And then Memorial Day is not for those who are among the land of the living. It is to remember those who have lost in support of the cost of freedom. Whether you agree with the war effort or not, that you are entitled to your own subjective opinions, but freedom isn't free, and we have the freedom that we do have because somebody gave their life to be able to give this to us. So, you know, it is what it is. Hell, your mama died in some way, shape, form, or fashion, even though she might be alive. But, you know, people die so that others can live. So take a moment of silence and then just remember those, you know, who lost their lives in the various wars that our country has gone through, okay, and has be it started or found ourselves in, whatever the case may be. All right, so let's get to it. Let's go to the state of Florida. We're going to talk about Florida first before we go to or come back home to the state of Illinois. So this is on the website, thecollegefix.com. Thecollegefix.com. What's going on? Thecollegefix.com, this story was by Greg Piper, associate editor, May 24, 2019. And I'm going to read the story verbatim so that way we can get a synopsis of what's going on. And then we're going to talk about some of the things. This is something that's very important. Those of you who have followed me on in my podcast, you've seen the new installment of On the Mic with Mike, where we've talked about what would Mike do in WWMD. Well, this is clearly something that is definitely worth talking about, okay? So I'm going to read. All right, Florida's First Coast Technical College has a low view of the United States and state constitutions, according to a federal lawsuit by a student who says she's been suspended indefinitely. Diamond, and it's spelled D-I-A''MON, in case you're looking her up on Facebook, Dallas. I think the Diamond, I'll tell you what the Facebook name is shortly. But Diamond Dallas is suing the Florida College for violating her First and 14th Amendment rights. Pause. For those of you all who don't understand what the First and 14th Amendment, first has a lot to do with free speech and the variations thereof, and the 14th Amendment has a lot to do with due process, okay? That no person can be, things cannot be taken away from a person without due process of law. That's the general synopsis of the applicability of the 14th Amendment as it relates to this individual case. And I read, Diamond Dallas is suing the Florida College for violating her First and 14th Amendment rights and retaliating against her in violation of the Florida Constitution, the Jacksonville Daily Record reports. The college, which is a part of the St. Johns County School District, suspended Dallas after another student reported, I say again, another student reported a Facebook photo of her and her fiancé holding legally purchased and lawfully possessed firearms at a gun range in Palatka. Okay, according to the lawsuit. 2 days after the photograph was posted, Dallas was confronted by the college's St. Augustine campus by the assistant principal and informed that she was being suspended indefinitely for appearing in a picture holding a firearm. And during the suspension meeting, the principal, Donna Gary Donovan, said that in the posted picture, Dallas had a mean look on her face and was possessing illegal guns, and stated that, quote, the things you do in the dark come into the light, end quote, according to the complaint. And they just happened to mention, what's going on, Elizabeth? They just happened to mention that Gary Donovan is white. Now, let's take a pause for a minute here. Anytime somebody tends to bring in the race of the two parties involved, I automatically begin to question the motives of the writer because according to the complaint, they're already alleging racism in this. So let's go on ahead and talk about it, continue. The photo constitutes, quote, purely off-campus Facebook communication with friends, end quote, and has no connection to school-related activity and could not interrupt the school environment, according to the suit, meaning the college's sanction on Dallas is retaliation. She's demanding a judgment against the school and damages to be determined at trial, as well as a corrective statement to be placed in the student file or in her student file, indicating that she was unconstitutionally disciplined, that her rights were violated, the record reports. Dallas's lawyer, Cord Bird, is a Republican state representative. He told the Jacksonville area news station, Action News Jax, that the Constitution protects activities and that activities that other people might find uncomfortable or unpopular, such as the lawful use of firearms. Okay. Now the name on Facebook is Diamond, that's DIA''MON, Dallas, commonly spelled Royster, ROYSTER, and this is on Facebook. And you have the picture that's on there, and I'll show you the picture shortly. Okay. If you haven't already seen it, go to my website and you can look at the picture that I posted. We got the half link and the full length picture. Okay. I'm going to read. Dallas and her fiance, Anthony Royster, whom she refers to as husband on Facebook, were at a shooting range with Royster's cousin, a veteran, who was instructing them in using guns, Dallas told the station. They posed for a photo where Dallas was aiming the gun at the camera and Royster held a gun at his side. Royster said he posted the photo to Facebook with the caption, quote, "She's my Bonnie and I'm her Clyde." I want you to pay attention to that. She's my Bonnie and I'm her Clyde. Okay. Now, he continues, "What I mean is like, we're together forever," said Royster. "And I feel like the main thing that we were getting stereotyped because of the color of our skin." Now, he appears to have hidden the photo, which is not among his public Facebook photos. When Action Jax News has, they were able to retain a copy. Okay. An administrator was so panicked by the photo that she would not let Dallas returned to the classroom, where she bought a slow cooker for a party. And this was according to a comment on a reporter's tweets on the story's claims Dallas is wearing the school's uniform in the uniform, making her identifiable as a Florida, the college student for the given college. Dallas has a young daughter with Royster and says she can't work while raising her unless she has a college education. She was getting A's in her classes. According to her, "All I wanted to do was be able to provide for my family, and now I can't," she told the news station. The college told the college told the station it couldn't comment on pending litigation. Okay, and that's the end of the article. So let's talk about it. First of all, I want you to understand, and people fail to realize that one, freedom isn't free. You can do almost whatever you want to do, except there are certain consequences for certain things. Those of you all who have not visited my Facebook page, you can visit my Facebook page, Instructor Mike or Mike Brown, and you can see the photo. So for those of you all who are watching who actually did, or those of you all who are listening who actually did, I want you to understand that in this photo, I'm going to try to do, some attempted to try to describe it. She's in a kneeling position on her feet, wearing flip-flops, and she's wearing a nurse's smock. Anybody who's worked in the healthcare field, anybody who's ever been to a hospital can clearly identify these as a nurse's smock. Okay, you've got the tag of the smocks or the scrubs maker on the left arm by the actual bicep and tricep. It's colored in black and blue, and she's holding a firearm in her hand. Good thing she's not touching the trigger, even though her grip is improper. But the gun is being pointed at the camera. We don't know if the camera is manned. We don't know if it's on a some kind of platform or something like that. But we can almost assume that because this photograph was not something that was planned, somebody was probably holding it. Okay, and because somebody was probably holding it, we can assume that, the gun was being pointed directly at them. Now, Mr. Royster, is standing above her. She is in a kneeled position on her feet, being supported by her feet, and he is standing, and in his right hand is not just a gun like they described. This is a AK-47 or a variant. It doesn't have the shoulder stock, doesn't have a pistol brace. It could be argued that this is a Draco version of the AK-47. Okay, and in his left hand is a stack of what we could see is cash. We don't know the denominations, things like that, but it's cash in his left hand, right by the back of her head. Okay, and in the photo, yeah, they both are black, but that is not what stuck out to me because I'm black. That's not what stuck out to me. What stuck out to me wasn't even the guns. Yes, in that state, as well as in the state of Illinois, in most places, it is legal for you to own an AK-47 pistol. In the state of Florida, it is legal for you to own a pistol such as the young lady has in that photo. And even though if they're supposed to be at a gun range, which there are outdoor gun ranges in the state of Florida, there are outdoor gun ranges in the state of Illinois, there are indoor gun ranges, is it legal for her to own such a firearm? Yes, it is legal for her to own such a firearm. Is she improperly holding the firearm? Absolutely, she is improperly holding that firearm. She doesn't have her finger on the trigger. Thank God. She's not properly pointing it in the right direction, which is wrong, illegal. Depends on the circumstance, the context. But the problem is, one, the cash. That's one. Okay. Now, each of those things, let me remind you, each of those things in and of themselves are not illegal. They are not illegal. But on the whole, the totality of the circumstances, the individual things, when put all together, does not make for a good picture of how a person in her desired profession, because she hasn't graduated from the nursing profession yet, or from that college to get into the nursing profession yet. So, it just doesn't look good. The optics doesn't look good. I want you to understand that the Florida First Coast Technical College, they have standards. They have standards. And this is what some people don't pay attention to when they sign the dotted line, when they attempt to enroll in these places of education, whatever. Come on now. How many of you actually read the contract for the things that you're signing? Very few people do. Some people most people, in fact, just assume that, okay, if it goes to arbitration, if there's a legal issue, it goes to arbitration. If there's a situation, maybe I could sue. If it's this and this, you're going to promise me this, I'm going to get that. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Let me go on ahead and sign, and then I go on ahead and get the service that you're going to give to me, because at the end of the day, I'm not going to read all this stuff. None of this stuff is going to apply to me, and I'm going to go on ahead and just get what I need, right? Very few people actually stop and read the contract in its entirety. And if people do read the contract in its entirety, I can argue that a great percentage of them may not understand the implications of what is implied in that contract. Let's talk facts. If you're offended by this, then it just doesn't apply to you. But most people do not read, all right? That having been said, let's look at First Coast Technical College's student handbook. Had it up here for a minute. Give me a minute. And if you want to call in to talk about it, I'd be more than happy to talk to you about it. The number is 773-571-5602. 773-571-5602. Now, those of you on the podcast, you're not going to be able to call in, but hopefully you'll be able to hear the persons who are listening or watching this Facebook Live. And if they want to call in and talk about it, that would be something that I would be glad to entertain conversation about that. But some people just don't understand that, we talk about profiling in my security training class. We talk about this rather often. And so you get a lot of, well, Mike, that's not right. We should be able to do XYZ. We should be able to walk around without being judged because of the color of our skin. Now, that I do agree with wholeheartedly. You'll never get me to argue anything opposite of that. But you do get some people that say that, well, I should be able to walk around and not be judged because of the choice of the clothing that I wear, because of my hairstyle. Well, newsflash, walk into a library and try to pick a book. What's going to entice you to pick that book? One, if you don't know the author, it is the cover of the book. Go to a newspaper stand and look at the periodicals or look at the magazines. What gives you a stimulus that tells you, hey, I am this thing that you should read? It's the cover. That having been said, what we wear is the cover of how we want people to perceive us, how we want people to treat us, how we want people to interact with us. And that's what some people just fail to realize. Let's go to the First Coast Technical College's student handbook, because I'm going to assure you, or I'm willing to bet, that when this suit goes to court, if it even makes it that far, when this suit goes to court, I am almost going to assure you that her information is going to be looked at. Did she sign any agreements for financial aid? Did she register for courses? Was she told about the student handbook? Never mind whether she read it. Was she at least told about the student handbook? And if she was told about the student handbook, did she read it? All right, so for the podcast listeners, we're going to go ahead and take a commercial break, and we will be right back after this brief commercial break. Don't go anywhere. Come on back with On the Mic with Mike. All right, so I had to pause that for a minute, and we're going to come back up, okay? Let me save this. I'm going to go ahead and come back up. Hopefully you guys are watching it. If you got any questions, throw some questions on the screen. If you want to add it, like I said, I already put the phone number on there, 773-571-5602. 773-571-5602. We're going to go ahead and go right back into. All right, welcome back to On the Mic with Mike. So again, we're talking about the situation out of Florida with Diamond Dallas suing the First Coast Technical College, about her being suspended from her school indefinitely because of a Facebook photo that she posted up. So you can go to fctc.edu, which is First Coast Technical College out of Florida, /students/handbook. And you see the student handbook of 2019. We could assume that this was a 2018 violation, or maybe it was a 2019 violation. But when you look at the page 41, had a chance to look at it earlier. When you look at page 41, which is the standards of behavior, let's kind of rush to it. What's going on, you all on Facebook watching? Hope you all are having a good Memorial Day. Let's get to it. We're going to talk about the Illinois Fix the FOID Card Act in a minute. You said hopefully the school will give her the chance. I see so. And Bonnie Chambers, you said this is just getting out of hand. For those of you all listening on the podcast, On the Mic with Mike, I'm interacting with my Facebook followers and subscribers. So if you want to, go to facebook.com, just look up Mike Brown. There are plenty of Mike Browns on Facebook, so just look for the black guy with the firearms instructor vest. Go on ahead and follow my page. You said, how do you spell her first name? Her first name is Diamond Dallas, DIA''MON Dallas, common spelling, okay, Dallas. And I think she might go by Diamond Dallas Royster. What's going on, your boy T Smooth? How are you, sir? All right, so let's get to it. She was suspended indefinitely from Florida First Coast Technical College for her posting. You said, repeat the number, 773-571-5602. 773-571-5602. If you are interested in talking about this given situation, by all means, give us a call. Give us a call, and we can definitely talk about this. 773-571-5602. I want to hear your comments. There we go. What's going on, Samara? Mark Biz Williams, what's going on? All right, if you're interested in this, by all means, like I said, give us a call. It looks as though, oh, that's an old call. Okay, so let's go on ahead and dive right into it. Okay, so we're on page 41. What's going on, Jay Floyd? How you doing? Fola, I said the last name wrong. Students' Code of Conduct. Students are expected to conduct themselves in a professional adult manner. All staff are responsible for the conduct of any student on campus. When a student's conduct seriously affects the college's operation or property in a negative way, the student will be disciplined according to FCTC regulations up to and including dismissal from the college and or payment for the damaged property. According to the standards of conduct, the primary goal of Florida's First Coast Technical College is to provide an educational opportunity for all students. In order for this to be accomplished, it is necessary that the school environment be free from disruptions that interfere with the students' right to learn and the teacher's responsibility to teach. In order to maintain order in the school, rules are established for the good of all. Instructors will provide individual program rules, okay? So it also have to depend on the individual program rules for her given program that she's in. And according to what we believe this to be, according to what's being reported, she's a nursing student. Students are expected to comply with legal and ethical standards of the college. Academic dishonesty and or non-academic misconduct, I say again, non-academic misconduct will result in disciplinary action. Specific instances of misconduct include, but are not limited to, your standard cheating, plagiarism, knowingly furnishing false information to the institution, and foregoing or altering institutional documents and or academic credentials. The university or the institution reserves the right to withdraw a student at any time for misconduct as described above. It also reserves the right to impose probation or suspension on a student whose conduct is determined to be unsatisfactory. Students who feel their rights have been denied are entitled to due process. Okay? Now, in looking at this given situation, I know some of you all are already on Facebook. You've probably already gone to her page and seen the photo. If you've done that, throw some thumbs up. Okay, you've probably already seen the photo. I want you to understand that, like I said before, in and of themselves, each individual thing on the photo does not necessarily, in and of itself, constitute misconduct. But the totality of the entire picture does imply certain things. And we can't be slow from that. They do imply certain things. So if you look at the picture, you got her fiance with the Draco AK-47 pistol with cash in his left hand. You have her in a kneeled position supported by her feet, okay, in what can be assumed to be a nurse's smock, okay, or nurse's, what's going on, Tamika? Nurse's scrubs, okay? And she's holding a firearm, pointing the firearm at the man. Or at the camera, be it held by a man or held by a prop or whatever the case may be. That having been said, he made the quote, she's my body and I'm her Clyde, okay? I want you to understand that the totality of that picture does not support good Second Amendment right practice. If somebody debates me, please call in. I want to have a healthy conversation. 773-571-5602. 773-571-5602. Let's back it up for a minute. First of all, she took the picture. None of us would have known anything about the picture had she not done what? Posted it to Facebook. So once you post that picture to Facebook, you are now putting that picture out there for all who are either followers of yours, subscribers of yours, friends of yours to see. Okay? We would have never known, nor would the person with whom you either had to be a friend of, or they were following you or watching you, whatever the case may be, okay? They were able to see it and report it. All right? Now, Taraya Ali, one of my Facebook followers, she said on Facebook, I personally believe people should keep their personal lives separate from their business on social media. I do agree to an extent, okay? I do agree. That having been said, once she posted that to Facebook, it became public knowledge for everybody who was associated with that page for them to see. Now, let's look at this picture. First of all, having been a firearms instructor for over 10 years and having been a firearms user, okay, safe and effective firearms user under tutelage at 16 years old, okay, and professionally in the military since the age of 18. I have been dealing with firearms since the age of 18, so close to 22 years of dealing with firearms, okay? I have been on various ranges. outdoor, indoor, some that operate automatic, some that operate manual. And it is possible they could have been on a firearms range. And if what is said in this story is true, that they were there under the tutelage of a firearms instructor, whoa, what's going on here? Okay? The instruction is not what I'm questioning. It's the supervision that I'm questioning. I'm looking at someone in a pose that does not, what's going on, Tiger Lily? I'm looking at someone who does not exhibit good firearms handling. Okay? I'm looking at someone who probably meant well. Let's give her the benefit of the doubt. Probably meant well. But I'm looking at someone who is not holding the firearm the right way. Okay? Also, someone please tell me, what good use does it do to have cash in the picture? I'm waiting for somebody to tell me this. Okay? Have cash in the picture. Also, Bonnie and Clyde are known for what? Bank robberies during the Prohibition era. Okay? So if you look at the caption of the photo, right? If you look at the guns in the photo, if you look at the nurses' scrubs in the photo, and the fact that it was brought to the school by someone who saw it on the outside, I can see from this assistant principal's perspective. I want you to understand this. We are free to do what we want, but it does not come without consequence. Laws are there. You can break them. There are consequences, right? Standards are there. You can break them. There are consequences, okay? Now, what's going on, Rob? We're doing a brief recap. For those of you who have just joined in, we're talking about the state of Florida. Florida's First Coast Technical College suspending Diamond Dallas in the state of Florida for showing herself with a firearm in what can be assumed to be, and if it is the case, it's not going to look better for her, if that is her school's uniform. I mean, you can look at, I'm looking at the photo, and as I blow the photo up, I wouldn't be surprised if the reason why she's holding the firearm improperly, right, is because her hand or her wrist is covering up the logo of probably what's stitched onto the top portion of those scrubs, right? So if that logo was displayed, it definitely shows, wait a minute now, we at the First Coast Technical College, while we do support Second Amendment rights, we do not condone such activity as a part of this specific program. Still waiting on somebody to debate me here. This specific program, we don't support that, okay? There is a Supreme Court case. You said the link to the photo. You can go to www.thecollegefix.com/college suspends young mother for, when you begin to type that out, it should pop up. I'll put the link to the photo, or if somebody wants to put the link to the photo, by all means, please do so. You can also back out of this. Yes, the school suspended her indefinitely for, yes, unprofessional conduct. Okay, I want you to understand that this becomes a topic that is actually I'm tired of talking about. Okay, you said let's be real. Taraya Ali, one of my Facebook followers, says let's be real. I wouldn't have contacted the school. I would have messaged the woman and told her to take that mess down. Yeah, Taraya, that would have been nice if she would have actually listened, but how many people actually do listen to sound advice? Not too many people do. Now, Taraya, you say you're your sister's keeper. Yes, I'm my brother's keeper too, but you can't keep somebody who doesn't want to be kept. You can't help somebody who doesn't want to be helped. 773-571-5602. Come on ahead and call. What's going on, Gary Grayer? What's going on, buddy? Gary Grayer doing great work out there in the town that he works in. What's going on, sir? All right. Again, for those of you all who are just following or just coming in on this, we are talking about the First Coast Technical College suspending indefinitely Diamond Dallas for her appearing in a Facebook photo with her and her fiancé holding legally purchased and lawfully possessed firearms at a gun range in Palatka. Okay. For those of you all who have a chance, go on ahead and go to the Jacksonville Daily Record, or you can go to thecollegefix.com and just type in college suspends the young mother for posing with a gun at a gun range, and she's suing. And I think that the title does not do the situation true justice, because if we look at the title, college suspends young mother for posing with gun at a gun range, the title in and of itself is like, okay, now it's an attack on our Second Amendment rights. But when you look at the photo and its implications, and notice that this photo is only cut out and only shows her, it doesn't show the full photo. Okay, now Rob Scheidel of hope I said your name, don't get mad at me if I butchered your name. School contracts upon acceptance states that you can be held accountable for social media posts. She didn't read it, it sounds. Absolutely. Every institution you go to, be it public or private, has standards of behavior for your on-campus, on-school activities and actions, and your off-campus activities and actions. Every place has that. Why? Because when you are associated with that college, when you are associated with this bar association, when you are associated with this professional association, you are bound to the rules and ethics of that given association, of that given college, of that given, you said Scheidel. I'm sorry, Scheidel, I'd have messed it up. But you are bound to the societal norms or the association norms in that given place. And if you refuse to abide by them, you are going to be subject to whatever punishment they feel is necessary given what you have done. And I'm still waiting on somebody. Either Memorial Day is truly Memorial Day, or no one has anything to say. And that's possible too. That is very possible. Okay, after all, it's Memorial Day. People are filled with fat barbecue, fun, family, and hopefully no domestics. Oh God, hopefully no domestics. Okay, but what do you think about this? You know, she's alleging race, and it's sad. It really is sad when you see someone. You're entitled to your opinion, subjective, whatever the case may be. But it's sad to see someone automatically go right to the race card. Right to the race card. Say nothing of the actions that they've done. Say nothing of the implications that come behind what you're doing and what you're wearing. I'm thinking about it. The law profession. Okay. I'm going to law school. And when I go to law school, I guarantee you I'm going to have to dress a certain way, right? Once I graduate from law school and pass the bar, when I go before the court, I have to go before the court wearing a certain attire, because that's the procedure. You go before the court in a manner that you would want to be seen, in a manner that you would want to be treated. And we live in I don't know how young this girl is. I'm willing to say, and maybe I'm wrong, I'm not. If I am wrong, correct me. But I'm willing to say that she's probably in her 20s. Okay? Probably in her 20s. How many people in their 20s have this entitlement attitude? How many people in their 20s have this attitude where they feel that they are entitled to unqualified respect? You hear what I said here? Unqualified respect. You got to respect me because I'm here. You got to respect me because I exist. Wait a minute. Maybe. In the law, I have a duty of care, a duty to act in a manner so as not to violate the space that you have a right to be free to operate in. But in order for you to get respect, that is something that your presence needs to command. In order to give you respect, your presence should command that I respect you in the manner that you want to be treated in. And in that, I approach you in the manner that you'd want to be treated in. Or maybe I just ignore you, right? But some people have this unqualified feeling about respect. Now, Julie Kalina said, just saw the picture. It's not appropriate for gun safety. Seeing as you have to assume that someone is standing behind the camera she's pointing the gun at. You don't aim a gun at anything that you are not meaning to shoot. You are correct. All right, we're going to go ahead and take a commercial break. For those of you all listening to On the Mic with Mike, take a moment, go to my YouTube page, Instructor Mike, go to my Facebook page, Mike Brown or Instructor Mike, and we will be right back to continue this and kind of wrap this conversation up so we can go right to the state of Illinois. Okay, because I want to talk about this just a little bit more, and then we're going to go to the state of Illinois and talk about the Fix the FOID Card Legislation Act. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Hey! What's going on, Mike? You said it's powerful content. Well, thank you very, very much for that. I appreciate you guys. Yeah, I mean, this is definitely something that definitely needed to be talked about. We're going to go ahead and go right into recording while that is uploading. Hey, what's going on? We're back with On the Mic with Mike. I'm your host, Instructor Mike. For those of you all that's just coming in, we are talking about the First Coast Technical College out of Florida suspending indefinitely a student, Diamond Dallas, for her appearing in a Facebook photo as reported by another student to the college. Appearing in a Facebook photo wearing nurse's scrubs, holding a legally possessed and purchased firearm along with her fiancé, also holding a legally possessed firearm. And they believe that the discrimination, if in fact this discrimination is on the basis of race, and they are suing. Never mind the cash, right? Never mind the cash. I don't know. It's just something. Okay, never mind that. Never mind the implications of what can be implied with the term, she's my body and I'm her Clyde. Come on now, you know. People are free to say what they want. They're free to do what they want, but you have to look at the implications that comes with the imagery, okay? For those gentlemen that go to strip clubs, if you went to the strip club or gentleman's club, as it is so, appropriately or appropriately named, if you go to a gentleman's club and you see the persons or the performers or the strippers wearing their street clothes, I came into a strip club, you're still fully clothed. What's going on here? Or you go into a fire department and you're looking for medical assistance, but it's a bunch of cops there. Hey, I didn't think I was coming to the police station. I thought I was coming to the fire department. What's going on here, right? Or let's just say you go to the police station and you get it by now. Come on, you go into the police station and everybody behind the desk is wearing firefighter gear, like full turnout gear. You would think you were in the wrong place. We wear uniforms and they imply certain things, and when you wear those uniforms, it's an image of the thing that you are associated with. Chicago police officers wear Chicago police uniforms. It associates them with the Chicago Police Department, and as such, they are responsible for their conduct both on duty and off duty. If they engaged in certain conduct off duty wearing that uniform, you can bet your butt they are going to be held accountable. They're going to be held accountable for that. Okay? So, say nothing of the individual choices that you, Miss Dallas, made in choosing. You say you're comparing a waste of time. Okay, I'm going to read this comment. Say nothing of the choice that you made to go to the range in your work attire. I'm not saying it's illegal. You can do that. They are not saying anything about you going to the range. They're not saying anything about you owning a firearm. They're not even saying anything about your legal rights to possess the firearm. That is not what the college is saying. And if that is what they're saying, somebody lead me in the right direction to be able to show me that. That's not what they're saying. What they are saying is the combination of the entire picture, the guns, coupled with the statement that was made, coupled with the wad of cash in his left hand, does imply association with criminal activity. Come on now. Places have a right to govern the manner in which it's the inferred context. You're right. And anybody with a brain that can look at that objectively, well, what does this picture do to benefit or to promote the image of the college since you're wearing their scrubs? What, if anything, does this do to promote? Now, don't get me wrong. As a firearms instructor who teaches a lot of women, I teach a lot of women. Some of them who have been nurses practitioners, doctors. I've taught lawyers. I've even taught politicians. Not saying any names. But I've taught politicians. I've taught laypersons, janitors, other security officers. I am an advocate for people protecting themselves. I'm an advocate for that. But when you wear certain attire, it has with it certain implications of support. Maybe this college is not necessarily a supporter of guns, and they have the right to be that. And we who support guns have a right to either go there or not. But when you choose to go to that college, you are bound by their rules. When you choose to work at this given place of employment, you are bound by their rules. Now, Bolo BX, I'm going to go back to your comments, because your comments are starting to okay. Compared to most pictures posted on Facebook, this is a waste of time for the college to go that far. I can't even tell if she's in school or what medical field she's worked in. You do have a point, but given that a student made a report about it, given that it could be factually stated that she is associated with that college, and there are some facts that we don't know. We don't know if those are work scrubs. If there are scrubs that belong to that individual institution, and as a condition of her being at that school, they have prohibitions against, and I'll give you a perfect point too, they have prohibitions against wearing your uniform off the clock or out of school. I'll tell you this for an example. The state of Illinois prohibits security officers from wearing their uniforms off the clock when participating in certain activities. Is it heavily enforced? Probably not. But that is a law. Debate me. Bolo BX 773-571-5602. Give me a call. Give me a call. I want to hear your voice, buddy. I want to hear your voice. What's going on, Don Anthony Reyna? What's going on, sir? Another good firearms instructor. What's going on, Hamza Juma? What's going on? You said that photo doesn't portray self-defense. Absolutely. And that's been my whole argument. It doesn't portray the image of self-defense. Now, those of you all who have followed me, you've seen me post pictures of me with guns, pictures of me with students with guns, and we are portraying ourselves in a manner that promotes positive firearms instruction, that the general public of Second Amendment supporters can say, hey, that guy and those people are doing it right. Right? So there's no issue. In fact, there'll be questions about, hey, what kind of gun do you have? Hey, what kind of this do you have? Hey, what kind of that do you have? Right? There'll be those kinds of questions. You're responsible for that. Knowing, what's going on, Don? Knowing that, first of all, there is an attack against those who promote the Second Amendment. There is an attack against those who seek to protect themselves. We're going to go into a conversation about that when we talk about Fix the FOID. It hurts those of us in the Second Amendment community, as said by Julie Kalina on Facebook. You're absolutely correct. Bolo BX, as a veteran, I get the uniform issue, but I can't tell if she's in college or what employer she would have worked for. Bolo, I think you're missing the point. It's not for you to get, it's for the college who does get it to address the issue. We aren't judging her per se, right? I can't affect her education, but she made a conscious decision. There's a theory called rational choice theory within the study of criminology. Rational choice theory. When you make a decision to do something, having weighed the consequences, or in some cases, having not even taken into consideration the consequences of one's action, when you make a decision, you knew what you were doing when you got into it. Come on now, if you're a veteran of the United States military, there are certain things that you couldn't do in uniform, or otherwise you would be punished according to the provisions and the regulations of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. You know that you would. And it's so easy for people to talk about how freedom isn't free. I mean, how freedom is free and I can do whatever I want. Yeah, you can do whatever you want, but you got consequences associated with those actions. You can go inside a lion cage. It's space. You can both occupy it. What if that lion tears your whole ass off? Well, by God, what do you think was going to happen? Okay? So, wrapping that up to say, Diamond Dallas, I do hope that you do get a second chance, third, fourth, whomever, whatever, right? I do hope that you get a second or third chance, or whatever the case may be, at pursuing your college education, because this is utterly, utterly, utterly important. It's utterly important. But you're probably in your 20s. And I want you to understand that in your 20s, you are in life college. Man, when I was in my 20s, dude, you couldn't tell me sugar, honey, iced tea. I thought I knew everything. And then, just when you think you know everything, you get in your 30s and you find out just how dumb you really were. Right? How you think you're so free, and then you begin to analyze, depending upon the type of trouble that you may or may not get in, or trouble you see other people getting in. You begin to analyze, well, why is this person getting in trouble? Why am I getting in trouble? What about the choices that I've made? Did I make the right choice? Did I make the wrong choice? And then when you begin to change certain things about you begin to see certain ways that you're treated or not even treated. You just begin to grow and evolve. Bolo BX on Facebook says, I agree, but that uniform is not recognized by anyone other than the people in that school. Bolo, that's the main point. Other than the people in that school. That's who it matters. So you're saying because it's a school, or we can just ignore it? That's not the issue. The issue is it doesn't promote. I'm going to say this as a firearms instructor. If that were my student, I'd give her a new boy. Those of you who have been trained by me already know what I would have done if that was my student as a firearms instructor. It would have been a smoke session. Okay, those of you all who are in the military, you know what that is. It would have been all kinds of knife hands, all kind of front back goes. It would have been all kinds of stuff, right? You would have ruled the day you decided to do something like that. Because that imagery does not promote responsible gun ownership. That imagery does not promote the proper use of a firearm. You got 3 basic safety rules. Assume all firearms are loaded. Point that firearm in a safe direction. And keep your finger off of the trigger. You are absolutely right. I just saw Julie just posted something about schools still have firm codes of conduct. And state law in Florida expressly prohibits the possession of firearms. Yeah, for sure. The possession of firearms on campus. Okay. Bolo BX says yes, smoke session for sure, but permanent suspension was not called for. Well, we don't know what happened in that meeting. There are several unknowns that have just not been made to the public. We don't know what that meeting, entailed. It could have been just a minor suspension until the behavior was corrected, okay? Or it could have been where she argued. Sometimes when people are confronted with the truth, they argue. And if you don't have a position to stand on, what are you arguing? What are you arguing? Okay. All right, let's get off of that. Let's talk about Fix the FOID. Fix the FOID Card Act. Okay. So for those of you all who are following, who are not from the state of Illinois, we are talking about the Firearms Owner's Identification Card for Illinois residents pursuant to Chapter 430 Illinois Compiled Statutes Act 65. This is the Illinois Firearm Owner's Identification Card Act. Now, Cherie Sloan says, but yet Trayvon Martin's killer is free. 2 different topics. I'd love to talk about that another time, but not right now, okay? Because I got an opinion about that. I'm pretty sure you know, okay? All right, so Fix the FOID Act, which is Senate Bill 1966, is the new legislation, and this is according to the Illinois Gun Violence Prevention.com. It's the new gun legislation with the goal of addressing loopholes in the existing gun licensing system, okay? 2/3 of Illinois voters from across Illinois support the Fix the FOID Act. A new poll released by the Illinois Gun Violence Prevention Pact shows broad support from across the state of Illinois and across the political spectrum. They're pretty much talking about, under the current law, individuals seeking to buy a gun must first obtain an Illinois Firearm Owners Identification Card Act from the Department of State Police. The tragic shooting at the Henry Platt Company in Aurora on February 15, 2019 brought to light the dangerous gaps in the state law that allowed the shooter to have easy access to guns despite a previous felony conviction. And let's talk about that, okay? For those of you all who are not aware, in Aurora, Illinois, at the Henry Pratt Company, I believe the guy's name is Gary Martin. I believe that's his name, okay? But there was a gentleman, male black, who came to work and was going to be terminated at the end of the day. Upon his termination, he then, had a gun on his person. He shot and killed some workers who were there and shot at 5 of the police officers who did not lose their life. They didn't lose their life, but they did sustain injuries from that. And it was later learned that his FOID card was revoked, but there was no enforcement efforts to make sure that his FOID card was in the state police's possession. He had tried to apply for an Illinois concealed carry license, and it was at that time when they determined that he had an out-of-state felony. My guess would be that the background check procedure for the FOID card is not as intense as it is for concealed carry. For the concealed carry, you have to get, you don't have to get fingerprinted, but it's optional that you get fingerprinted. But whether you get fingerprinted or not, you're still going to undergo a federal and state background check, okay? For the FOID card, I would imagine that you only go through a state background check. And that's why he was allowed to have the FOID card, because he had a felony, but it was not in the state of Illinois. So it did not hit in Leeds. There was no FBI response because there was no FBI request of any out-of-state criminal background, which is typically the case if you get fingerprinted, okay? And as Julie Kalina said, this is on the state of Illinois. They failed to do their duty. You are exactly correct. I had another podcast episode that talked about that in the wake of the Aurora situation. Okay, and the ILGVP is saying the Fix the FOID Act would address many of these gaps, strengthening the FOID system and helping to ensure that people with a violent criminal history who are prohibited from gun possession cannot evade the law and arm themselves. Well, I'm going to tell you this, before we even get to the legislation, you're not going to stop everybody from having guns. People are going to always find access to guns, just like a order of protection does not stop a person who is hell-bent on committing crimes from doing just that. So if it's on that and that alone, all you're doing is enhancing legislation that should be enforced, but that in and of itself is not going to stop the criminal activity. So let's be real with that. But let's go on ahead and look at the FOID card fact sheet, and then we're going to talk about it. Again, 773-571-5602. 773-571-5602. Okay. I like this fact sheet. Okay, we're going to go on ahead and look at it. February 15, 2019, an employee opened fire at the Henry Platt Company after being terminated, killing 5 people and injuring 6 others. The shooter had obtained an FOID card in January 2014, despite a 1995 aggravated assault conviction in Mississippi that should have caused him to fail the background check. In March 2014, the shooter applied for a concealed carry license for a handgun and submitted his fingerprints to expedite the process, which turned up the 1995 conviction. State police denied the carry license application and revoked his FOID card, sending him a notice that he was required to surrender any firearms in his possession. And submit a firearm disposition record indicating that he had complied. However, the shooter failed to submit the firearm disposition record to the state police or to surrender his firearms, and law enforcement never followed up after the initial letter. Okay. Now, we cannot state that if all these things had taken place, he would never have had access to a gun. That's not true. We don't know that. We don't have any information to suggest that this would have been the be-all and end-all. But, here we go. So, Here are the key elements of Senate Bill 1966. They are requiring a point-of-sale background check for all gun sales, including those by an unlicensed seller. So under the current law, an unlicensed seller only has to go online to the Illinois State Police Firearms Services Bureau website at www.fsbasnboy.com. That's www.ispfsb.com. And then you go to a section that says firearms transfers. You enter in the FOID card number, you enter in the date of birth of the person you're selling it to, and then it would generate a approval in green or a denial in red, and it'll give you a firearms transaction number. What's going on, Freddie Steele? It'll give you a firearms transaction number where you can go ahead with the sale. Okay, that is it. Now, there is no real enforcement of that. You just have to know the law. And if you know the law and follow the law, then you get all these things, okay? And I just sold a firearm, maybe about 4 weeks ago, about 4 or 5 weeks ago, went through the same procedure, okay? Other than that, there is no enforcement. No one's standing over you making sure that you're doing this, okay? Here we go. Now, in the amendment, what they are requiring in the Senate bill, they are requiring that if I, a private person, want to sell my firearm to another private person, we both, with our valid driver's license or ID or our FOID and our firearm owner's identification card, we go to the gun store, or at least a federally licensed and soon to be state licensed firearms dealer. And we give this dealer the firearm. At that time, the dealer does a background check of the person who wants to purchase the firearm. After they do a background check just like that, once the background check returns that they are able to possess the firearm, then the person, the gun dealer, can then begin the paperwork to properly transfer the firearm into that person's possession. If it returns that this person is not authorized to possess that firearm, then what's going to happen is that firearms dealer is then going to do a background check of the person who intended on selling the firearm. At which point in time, if it returns that they are lawfully authorized to receive the firearm they once wanted to sell, then they're able to receive it. If neither one of them are authorized to have that firearm, then the gun dealer is ordered to hold on to that firearm and notify law enforcement about the transaction so that neither party possesses the firearm. I'm going to tell you this, as a former cop, I really don't see a problem with that. Somebody tell me why. I mean, I don't know. Somebody's going to be mad at me, right? That's fine. But I like to look at things objectively. I don't really see a problem with that. Now, that doesn't mean that everybody's going to abide by that, but I don't see a problem with that. If your paperwork is straight, if your licenses are straight, I don't see a problem of having an official go-between. I don't see that. And I get it. If I'm not authorized to have that firearm, you took that firearm off my hands and gave it to law enforcement, right? Now, this could go good and this could go bad, because what if that person desires to come back and get that firearm and now they come back up and shoot up the gun store? That's going to be a heck of a battle right there, but that could happen regardless, okay? Same thing if a person wants to buy a firearm and they're denied by the state police background check, and the same thing could happen. So I'm just, Julie, you said everybody else is agreeing. Bolo BX is agreeing. Julie is agreeing. Who else is agreeing? I'm getting your names. Lori Ann Clark. I don't see anything wrong with that. Okay? That's one thing about the Fix the FOID that I do like. I do like that. Having a go-between. You got all your paperwork in order? Sure, it's an inconvenience, but I could go along with that. So that way, if I'm not supposed to have that gun, and this person is supposed to have that gun, you maintain that gun, and you have the ability to defend your maintenance of that gun. You notify police, and just like that, a gun's off the street. You know how many used firearms get sold? I'm talking about used firearms that were used in crimes, homicides, Come on now. I can actually agree with that. So I'm not going to say anything about that. Okay. Requiring a FOID applicant. Oh, let's go to commercial break. We'll be right back. For those of you all who are listening, we're going to continue on with the Senate Bill 1966, which is the Fix the FOID card legislation in the state of Illinois. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back with On the Mic with Mike. That was a long recording. Okay, that was a long recording, but we're going to get right back into it. I got to get right back into it. I have to listen and name these segments accordingly. Let's go ahead. This is going to be a pretty long podcast. I don't care. Let's get to it. All right, let's go ahead and get back into it with On the Mic with Mike. We're talking more about the Fix the FOID card legislation. Fix the FOID card legislation. Senate Bill 1966 in the state of Illinois. So the next part of the legislation is that it is requiring FOID card applicants to submit fingerprints as a part of their application. I saw this coming. I saw this coming. Now, I'm going to say I'm a little biased, right? Because I am an Illinois licensed fingerprint vendor and the owner of an Illinois licensed fingerprint vendor agency. I'm not going to say I'm a little biased per se. Yes, this is going to be financially, lucrative because people get FOID cards, right? But if you look at what happened in the situation at the Henry Platt Company in Aurora, it's the state police's fault why there is a different background check between the FOID card versus the check that's required for the Illinois concealed carry. That's not our fault. That's your fault for having different standards. That's your fault, right? You know that the doggone, you said Lori Ann Clark, about time. I'm agreeing with that. It is about time. Come on now. Come on, right? You do a state background check, and just a state background check, to give somebody the permission to own a card that only authorizes them to purchase and possess firearms and ammunition. They can't carry it outside. They can't carry it in their car, but they can purchase it and they can possess it. You don't think they're going to still commit crimes with it, right? People commit felonies outside of states. They get convicted. There's no sharing of information. There's no sharing of information. Okay? And so, with this legislation, now I'm not for everything, so hold your horses. Okay? But with this legislation, it will at least allow there to be one background check, federal and local, federal and state, for both the FOID card and the concealed carry license. So that way, before you are even allowed to purchase and or possess firearms and ammunition pursuant to the Illinois FOID Card Act 430 ILCS 65, you got to go through a state and federal background check before we even allow you to possess it. Okay, now I'm going to go back and read some of your comments. Facebook followers. Julie Kalina said, I am iffy on that one. I can see how it could be good, but I can see how it could be the start of a, quote, gun registry. Well, true. But I'm going to tell you this. Persons who are fingerprinted for the Illinois concealed carry license, there's no registry for that. Not a registry that's made available to the public, right? And the government, the state government, already knows who owns firearms anyway in the state of Illinois. So I don't see that as being a gun registry. I just see it as being unnecessary, inconvenient, sure. Costly, yeah, sure. About $60, $55 depending. Because we as Yes, Bolo! Yes! Oh, I'm sorry I had to break. I'm sorry if you guys are listening in your car, if you guys are watching on Facebook. Bolo BX, I've been saying the same thing too. I wish they would add a safety class as well. I can tell you this. Now, listen to me. Hang tight. Hold your horses. Because this is a thing among race. Not negatively. Well, it could be seen as negatively. But just indulge me in conversation for a quick minute. Okay? I've been saying that for the longest. When I was in my master's program, my graduate studies, I did a paper on the differences between vehicle usage and fatalities and gun usage and fatalities, okay? We require people to go through so much to get something that is not a right that people have no problem going through. People have no problem going through. You got to get a driver's permit. Then after you get the driver's permit, you got to take driver's lessons. Then after you get driver's lessons, you got to take the test. Then after you take the test, then you get the license. We haven't even purchased the car yet. Right? Then, here we go. No, we're not talking about that. Okay, hold on. Then you go to purchase the car. Then you got to have liability insurance. That's state law too, at a minimum. But if you're smart, you'll get full coverage, right? Got to have insurance. And then, look at all these things you got to go through before you even begin to set a vehicle upon an Illinois roadway. Before you even set that vehicle upon an Illinois roadway. But in order to get a firearm, you only have to pay $10 and boom, just like that, you get the FOID card. And then you go in with that FOID card and you go to a gun dealer. This is right now. You go into that gun dealer and then you say, hey, give me something that pops. Well, I got just the perfect thing for you. Here we go. Don't you get mad, my wonderful white people who are supporters. People talk like that sometimes, right? I got the thing that goes boom. It's the CCW special. And they give you some gun, right? This is if you get a bad dealer. They give you some gun that hell he wouldn't give to his wife, but he give it to you. And then next thing you know, you go through your 3-day check. You pay your you pay your little stuff like that. Yeah, you got to wait 4 weeks, true, Julie. But you get your gun, okay, after 3 days. And then just like that, you get to go on the gun range and shoot, mess stuff up because you don't know what you're doing, right? Or you get to take that gun home, and if something happens, you got a gun to do something with, but you don't know how to do something with the gun you could do something with. Just that easy. And if we look at the fatalities, vehicles versus firearms, anybody interested in that paper? If you're interested in that paper, email me. Mike at ChicagoSecurityTrainingConcepts.com. That's a long URL, I know. Mike at ChicagoSecurityTrainingConcepts.com. If you're interested in that paper, email me. I will send you the paper. There were more people killed by vehicles than by firearm deaths alone. But the thing that we fear the most, which is firearms death, firearms usage, hell, even firearms possession, it is least regulated. Not the thing that kills more, but the thing that we fear more. That's what's the least regulated. So then when we look at the legislation, point of sale background checks, no more private to private firearms transfers. That's a bad thing. No, that's a good thing, right? Requiring people undergo fingerprints as a part of the application. That's a bad thing. No, that's a good thing, right? So that we can find out people who have out-of-state felony convictions faster because the current process isn't working, right? Now, for the training class, we were talking about that. We don't want them to go through a training class. Here we go. Well, yeah, I get it, okay? Julie, I'm just responding to Julie's comment. Some people will say, well, Mike, I don't need a training class. And it's a shame that you would say that I would need a training class in order for me to get an FOID card. My uncle was in the military. My father was in the military. We are immersed in gun culture. I don't need to have to go through a second firearms class or a third firearms class. I've been handling firearms before you were even born. Guess who's likely to say that? More likely than not, white people. White people. And I understand. Being a firearms instructor, I understand. The firearms culture is heavily deep within the white culture, the white race. And I'm not trying to provide division, but I want you to have education and understanding about this. Don't be ignorant to facts, right? Born and raised in gun culture. Hell, the country was founded through the use of a gun. right? Here we go. Now, how do black people or other minorities find themselves exposed to firearms? It could be said, victims of crime, gun violence. Maybe you got somebody in your family that was in the military, or somebody in your family that was in law enforcement, or even somebody in your family that was about their life. And all of a sudden, now you learn about firearms. We don't know if it's good or bad, but you learn, right? You learn. See? Get on the range and just pop, 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 pop. Those of you all who have followed me on Instructor Mike, you've seen the times where I said, I go to the range and I people watch. And I sit there and look at people just shoot at the piece of paper, and you are fucking, I'm cursing, I'm sorry, but you aren't hitting anything. You aren't hitting anything. We don't allow people to take vehicles on the road and be reckless. We have to send them through training. But this is the thing that even in the training, it still kills more. But we fear guns. We want to attack it. We want to attack it. And so we don't legislate it as much. We don't require people who get FOID cards to at least go through a 4-hour basic gun handling course. Hell, we can even argue that some of the concealed carry courses that are out here do a great disservice, because it's like the very basics that you should have learned before you got your FOID card is the very basics that you're being taught in the concealed carry class. And that stuff in some of these concealed carry classes is just enough to get you killed. Just enough to get you killed. Because the implication that comes with you going through these classes, the implication is that you've received training to be able to properly conceal this firearm. You've received training for you to properly be able to deploy this firearm to stop a deadly threat. You've received that training. That's the implication. Not necessarily the case. So, requiring action by the Illinois State Police to remove guns once a FOID card is revoked. It creates an Illinois State Police led task force with mandated ISP enforcement, prioritizing certain clear and present danger revocations. Here's the one thing that I don't see. I don't see anything in the act about speeding up the process with which applications or in which applications are being approved. I don't see anything in the legislation that talks about when a person undergoes a situation that spawns a revocation of their FOID card or concealed carry license. I don't see anything in the legislation that talks about how to make that person whole if the complaint is false. How to make that person whole so that they can go back to legal possession of a firearm. So they can go back to protecting themselves. Well, you don't need to have that, Mike. We are here to protect you. I seen what's going on, Ms. Brandon. What's going on? I've seen this past weekend, Superintendent of the Chicago Police Department, Eddie Johnson, with the newly elected mayor, Lori Lightfoot, saying if something goes wrong, you don't need to take actions in your own hands. Call us. Call 911. We will do for you. For here at the Chicago Police Department, we serve and protect. Say nothing of Castle Rock versus Gonzalez, which is a United States Supreme Court case where the person who was the litigant in that was like, my husband killed my 2 kids, and I had to order protection against him that protected them. And they were right in the parking lot of the police department, and you guys did nothing to do anything. Well, ma'am, this is of great concern. We feel your pain. We really do. But the problem is that, this is your job for you to do. There is no contract. You cannot sue the city of Castle Rock's police department under Title 42 United States Code Section 1983, which is a civil rights violation. You don't have a property interest in protection. You don't have that. You don't have a property interest in protection. If Warren versus District of Columbia, this is protection as a broad concept of what law enforcement does not exist to protect us. Law enforcement exists to enforce the law, and we as the citizenry, we get protection as a byproduct of their first duty, and that is to enforce the law. For if whatever the complaint is that we will complain to the police department about, whatever the thing is, if there's no law stating that the action complained about is illegal, the police department does not have jurisdiction over that given thing. Their first duty is law enforcement. As Mo Brandon on Facebook just said, I am my first line of defense, period. Julie Kalina says, BS. My parents live in Chicago. Called 911 for an attempted home invasion, and they were told, call back when they make entry. Sad. Utterly sad. Right by my business, there's residents. There's an upstairs apartment. And my elderly neighbor from my business was telling me about how, had it not been for the ballistic protection of that glass, there was a guy down there that was kicking the door and had been kicking continuously. She called the police. The police station is only a half of a mile from where the business and her residence is. And they took 44 minutes to get there. And but not for this glass, she was upstairs defenseless. She took my concealed carry class, though, afterward. So miss me on the part that we as law enforcement are going to protect you. You can't make that claim because you don't know what's going to happen. Maybe you have a homicide or multiple homicides or an officer down or something that requires multiple law enforcement resources to be deployed to a given area. Now something's happening at the same time. What do you do? What do you do? The situation in Texas. The situation in Texas with Bun B and his wife. You heard me talk about that in a previous podcast. And a pastor of a Methodist church and his wife. Bun B and his wife, Queenie, are black. The pastor and his wife are white. Man tries to enter the place. I'm going to get to you, Rob Scheidel, because that's a great comment. Man tries to enter the home and does in fact enter the home with Bun B and Queenie. They end up getting the vehicle. Bun B comes down there and shoots up stuff and misses all kinds of things, hit the guy in the shoulder. Later to take the guy into custody, or the police to take the guy into custody. Both of them say they were trained, but they didn't act as though they were trained. They could have easily been killed. But here you got a white pastor and his wife. In Texas, stand your ground state. The pastor and his wife both had guns. A pastor. Turn the other cheek, but I got a gun in the other hand. Right? Here we go. A pastor sits here. Both of them, wife and husband and wife, take that gun and shoot the home invader. The invader dies on scene. Talk about stand your ground. Look, it's not enough to just get a FOID card. You got to get training. But you got to make sure that you are lawfully authorized to have that. Whose job is that? It isn't yours. It's the state's, it's the law enforcement. I don't have a problem with that. Reducing the FOID card duration from 10 years to 5 years. Illinois is one of only 2 states whose license to purchase firearms is valid for 10 years. Shorter license durations, coupled with other measures like in-person applications and fingerprinting, are tied to lower levels of gun violence. Shorter license durations also require persons seeking purchasing firearms to undergo background checks more often, enabling the licensing system to reduce the risk of people who have become prohibited after obtaining their FOID card from using their card to purchase firearms from unlicensed sellers. I can't disagree with that. I'm sorry. You may find it inconvenient, sure. You may even find it costly, sure. But so too is operating a vehicle that is not a right, it's a privilege. And you don't have a problem with paying all that money for gas. You don't have a problem with paying all that money for insurance. You don't have a problem with going to the Illinois Secretary of State or whatever state agency or the Bureau of Motor Vehicles every 5 years to get your license again. I just renewed mine, right? You don't have a problem with that. You're the one who wants to own a gun, as do I. I don't see it. It also enables Illinois to dig into our pockets more. I agree, Julie. I agree. I agree. I agree. It sucks. It does. But we can't sit here and call the Illinois State Police to do more without thinking in certain respects who's gonna pay for it. That's why I said somebody call in 773-571-5602. Talk to me. Probably not. I'm getting ready to go to sleep. We've been on here for well over an hour. This is probably the longest podcast I have done. Not the longest Facebook I've done, though, but definitely the longest podcast. But it's definitely something worth talking about. Okay? Now, improved information sharing. It creates the law enforcement prohibited persons portal so that revocation information can be available in real time to law enforcement entities. But like I said, the problem is this. The Illinois State Police has said nothing, and if they have, correct me. They've said nothing about increasing the staff. Increasing the staff so that applications are processed faster. Because if you're talking about shortening the duration, see, here we go. If you're talking about shortening the duration from 10 years to 5 years, you got to have somebody that's going to be able to process those applications in a timely fashion. Why should we have to wait beyond the confines of the time limits that are already statutorily set because you don't have enough people? Why should persons who have been wrongfully arrested or arrested and then found not guilty, why does it take so long for them to be made whole? Why does it take a long time for them to be made whole to the point where they are able to protect themselves, protect their families, protect their loved ones? Where's the Fix the State Police Firearms Services Bureau Act? Where's that? Because that's where this all stems from. Where's that? I don't know. I don't know. Well, those of y'all who've been listening for this long time of this long podcast, okay, I am Instructor Mike. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook at Instructor Mike. You can go to my YouTube page, Instructor Mike. You can go to Facebook and follow me at Mike Brown. Go visit my website, www.chicagosecuritytrainingconcepts.com, or just put in MikeBrownsClass.com. Follow me. Come on back for another episode of On the Mic with Mike. We're going to get into more segments. We're going to talk about anger management. We're going to talk about some other stuff. Yeah, I'm going to get to that, Mario. We're going to talk about some other stuff relative to anger management and crisis intervention, nonviolent crisis intervention. You want to always make sure that you have pen and paper and be ready to call in, talk about some stuff. Follow me on Facebook, all that great stuff. All right, come on back for another episode of On the Mic with Mike. Take care. All right, I'm going to stay on here with you guys for a little bit. That was my podcast. And yeah, that was a pretty good episode. Sad. This is sad. Okay. But I think that there are some elements of this bill that I like. Some elements I do not support. But I'm telling you it's going to pass. It is definitely going to pass. Okay. So stay tuned. We'll talk about this more. And I appreciate you guys for watching. Take care.